everybody. Welcome to another introductory session. So this is our blank screen series, getting started with digital illustration on iPads. So today we're going to get you right into how do you do digital illustration on iPads. I have Jeff Wilson with us. So he's going to look at the ProCreate software and how you can start digital illustration projects, cartooning, any kind of drawing on the iPad directly. So I just want to start. I want to thank all our partners in this project. So we have the Canada Council for the Arts, and then we have our library partners, Blue Mountains Public Library, Collingwood Public Library, and the Wasaga Beach Public Library. We have iPads available at these libraries too, so you can always check out the iPads with ProCreate loaded. So the Blue Mountains Public Library have an iPad Pro with an Apple Pencil. We have some at the Collingwood Public Library, and Wasaga Beach Public Library has some iPads as well. So you can always access technology loans. So we encourage you to do that. Otherwise, in terms of the app, it's so Jeff Wilson, local cartoonist, animator, illustrator, he's going to be taking you on this exploratory journey. And then the app we're using is the ProCreate software. It's a low cost. I think it's about under $20 Canadian when you're purchasing it. And then there's also a version on the iPhone, so you can technically use it with any kind of iOS device. So that's really exciting. So Jeff's gonna start us up. So without any further ado, let me pass it over to Jeff. Here we go. Here is Jeff.
Okay, thank you so much, Tom, and I hope everybody's having a good day so far, and we're going to get started right at it. I'm looking at my blank screen here. This is the whole series is blank screen, and it's always a start point for cartooning or art, any kind of graphic art or visual art, is that blank screen. So it's already a picture. You can think of it as a polar bear in a snowstorm or whatever. It's already, you can create a story without even touching the page. So always just let your imagination go wild. And once you start putting your pencil to a page, and in this case we have I have an iPad Pro with an Apple Pencil. This is the tool here. I can just put it up by the camera so you can see it. It's a digital tool. You can take the top off of it, and there is a charging station on the iPad. Let's see if I can show it there. This will plug into the side of your iPad and to the near your button, which is the power button and the control button for going from app to app on your iPad. Plug that in there, and it will charge, and you can check that in your settings, your Apple Pencil, once it's been synced to it. It is charging. So there you go. So you got your tools, you got your Apple Pencil, you got your iPad, you're ready to go here. Let's explore the blank space here and your toolboxes on your screen. Okay, if we look at our screen here, we have a menu at the top, and the one word in English that we see is gallery right at the top there. And the gallery is you just press on that with your finger, and it will open up all of your saved drawings on your iPad that you have. And this is something that I haven't yet figured out how to do, but I would like to save some of these so I don't destroy all the original drawings here that I've done, because these are in layers and in quite high resolution. And but I know that I need to do that at some point, take these files off and allow the iPad to have some space there. So that's something I will probably do at some point. But anyway, as for the purposes that we're doing it, we can select a drawing here. Now, if we go back to that, let's go back to where we were there. Let's create a new image here. So if we check here, this is in our ProCreate main menu here. If we want to create a new drawing, we have a menu here on the top right. Select import and photo, and we have a cross, like a X, basically a plus sign, let's say. And if we use a finger, click on that, and it will give us a menu here as to what type of canvas you would like to have. Now, since I work in print a lot of the times, I would normally do Cmyk. I think I just moved that a little too soon here. Let's try that again. So we have some selections. RGB, which is red, green, blue, and that's kind of it's kind of the way our eyes see light. So it's just one system of mixing colors. And then Cmyk, which is another system for mixing colors. That's cyan, magenta, yellow, and K meaning black. So that's another system of mixing colors, and I prefer Cmyk, as I say, because I work a fair bit in print, so I tend to use that more often. But in many applications, RGB is the one you want to go with. So for photos and Photoshop images, and for many for websites and that sort of thing, I believe RGB is the standard. But for print, I believe Cmyk is a standard. So it's very interesting. It's something you can explore later on yourself. But anyway, you have a series of sizes here that you can select that are pre-measured. Or the other thing you can do is at the very top right-hand side, you'll see like a black rectangle with a plus sign in it, and you can click on that. And you can custom make your own canvas in this menu here. So what I do is, because of I'm getting up there in years, I still use Imperial Measurements. So I choose inches because that's just what I'm familiar with. But so I'm going to choose here format that I'm used to. So in terms of width, which is that top right selection there, I'm going to select 11 inches. I click on the height area there, and I'm going to select 8.5 inches. That's your standard letter size document. And it's pretty standard for paper, printing paper and that sort of thing. And I guess that's my world that I tend to move in. So if you check down your menu here, you see you have 300 dots per inch, and your maximum layers in this document are going to be 59 layers. So that's pretty amazing. You can get 59 layers in this document. So once you've selected that, you can check your color profile. I've chosen the generic Cmyk. That's cyan, magenta, yellow, and K means black. So basically a 4-color print system, which is your typical print color system. You can do time-lapse settings. So if you're doing animation, we can do a time-lapse recording of what we're drawing too. So this is fun because if you're doing a drawing, it can do a time-lapse recording of what you're doing. And that's something that you can explore. Good quality, studio quality. I'm not sure what that lossless means. And your untitled canvas. So you can choose a background color that's different than white if you wish. I didn't realize this until a little while ago. And you can choose green or yellow or whatever, but you choose whatever you like there. And then once you've got everything the way you want it, go back to your dimensions and make sure you double check your dimensions again, and click create, and it will open up a file for you. You've created your canvas to start drawing with. So in the end, I decided on the white background because my background in cartooning and animation, white paper, and that's just the way it's been for me, and that's what I'm comfortable with, and that's what I've gone with for 40 or 50 years. So yeah, if you have something different, you've just seen how you can get there. So we look at gallery again, and let's see here. Okay, let's check our actions, which is the symbol is a wrench, basically. So you have a good selection of things here. You have your canvas size, which we've already done. When you want to share your drawing, you have this area here where you can share it as a ProCreate document, a PSD, which is a Photoshop document, a PSD, PDF, which is basically a document, a digital document of that you can send. It compacts it and shrinks it so that it'll send quicker, but it's still high quality. Now, JPEG, which is a photo format, basically, and PNG is another, the one below that, and TIFF, and which is a slightly higher. And these are all varying degrees of quality, but I think they're all pretty good. I'd say JPEG is my favorite to use because it's very adaptable. And you can also share layers. So below that, you can, if you have several layers, you can create a PDF, for example, with layers. So it'll do each layer as a separate file or as a separate page on your document. PNG files, you can do animated GIFs if you want to do that. And that's basically the same thing. It will take each layer, it'll create an animation, a GIF animation, an animated PNG, animated MP4, which is MP4 is a pretty common video format, and we may get into that another time. But anyway, it shows you a lot of things you can do here. And you can, as I say, you can do the time-lapse recording, which is great. And you can record what you're drawing, and that can be quite neat later if you prefer that. Preferences. So I haven't really set any preferences here because I've just kind of gotten used to what it's done for me. But you can adjust things like your pressure curve, which is basically how hard you push on with your pencil. And you can adjust that so that it's a lot more sensitive to that. Very, very interesting. It's something that you might want to explore later. And of course, if you need help, there's that as well. Little help menu for you as well. So let's go right back to the next part of the menu. You've got your adjustments. So if you want to adjust your hue, saturation, or brightness, your saturation basically is your color. It can take away your color, or it can increase the vibrancy of your color. And brightness and hue, of course, hue changes the color from different types of colors. So you can go from yellow to brown to blue to orange to whatever color you want with adjusting the hue. Your color balance, you can adjust your color balance in the layer or in the way you're using your pencil. Your curves, that's basically your the way your color will adjust. And you can do things like gradient map, Gaussian blur, so you can blur your certain layers or whatever too. Lots of options here. Your noise level with your pencil, your sharpen level with your pencil, and layer. Lots of things here that pretty sophisticated though. So we'll leave that till later. Here, this tool is an interesting one because you can actually create objects here. So if you're not wanting to draw, you can just create objects like this, and you can change the color if you like that way, and it will create a layer with that on it. You can create a new one and do something else here with that tool. You can do a rectangle, except I didn't do one. Let's undo that. So you have your undo tool, which is the lower on the lower left menu here. This is on the left side. This top slider here will represent your thickness of your brush size, and the bottom one adjusts your brush opacity. Then just below that, you have your if you want to undo something or redo something, you can do that here, which is pretty good to do that. So we'll take it off there. I will try to anyway. There we go. And then your okay, I think we just need to adjust something here. There we go. We'll just take that layer off and create a new layer here. Okay, this is layer empty. Okay, so we have to have something here to, let's put something, just put an image here of some kind. Let's open this tool. So this opens up a new set of tools here on this arrow tool, which is on the top left side. So you have, you can basically move this image here. So freeform is you can kind of stretch it or move it around if you like. So basically what it has created when you drew this, it has created a vector file, which is really amazing. This one will, the uniform tool will stretch it, but it'll keep it in the same proportion. You won't distort the drawing at all. It just keeps it in the same proportion. On the other hand, the distort will totally distort it. If you move one corner of it, it'll kind of give you this really interesting distortion. It can give you a nice effect if you're doing a background that's like a poster or something, and you're showing it in 3D or showing it in dimension in perspective. So that's something you can do there. And if you don't like that, you can go back to your undo tool, and we'll go back here again, and you can do your warp tool, which is pretty neat because you can stretch these images here, kind of get them to, I'll give them some really interesting, stretch them whatever direction you want to, make them bulge or make them contract, whatever you like to do. And you can also fold them over like this too. You can do this. So there's a lot of things you can do with that. With it, then the tools beneath this, you can do advanced mesh where you can really make some unusual patterns here with that. If you could do a drawing and have like a dream sequence or somebody having a barely conscious or something and having some sort of, it would be a lot of fun to do a drawing like that. Here, this tool is the flip tool, the flip horizontal, flip vertical. Neat stuff. And this turns your drawing 45 degrees at a time. This one will stretch it to the edge of the screen. So you see here, it's just stretched it as far as it'll go, fit screen, and we can undo that. Let's go back to our gallery here, and it'll give us a chance to undo that, all of that. And you can go here and it'll undo everything. It'll just reset it. So a lot of fun there that you can do with these tools. Let's go to our top right menu here. This is the one you'll probably be using 90% of the time. This is your brush tool. Let's just delete this layer. And let's delete this layer too, and we'll create a new one. And we'll just change our tools again. So our brush tool, you have many. This is great because you will just probably go bonkers when you see this. You have so many different options here. You'll probably spend the first day just figuring out what all these do. There's so many wonderful choices here. The sketching tools at the very top are, there's so many things you can choose. You can choose crayons, pastel crayons, HB pencils, ProCreate pencils, your Untitled brush pencil, which is just kind of a broad pencil stroke. And you can adjust your width too. I find when I'm doing rough sketching, especially, that I like to have a little thicker, like maybe not that thick, but, and then I just kind of test it out with a circle and sometimes backwards until my hands feels looser. And if I don't like that, you can just clear it away. Just try the next one, try the next tool. Let's try a technical pencil just because it looks like it would be a little, have a little more looseness with it. I don't know if I like that or not either. So again, you're just exploring things. Now 6B pencil is a little thicker, so I think that would be something I could probably, this is more the type of pencil I like to do rough sketches with. And I find the thicker your pencil, you can get a looser feel in your pencils too. And you can, when you have a finer one, that's more for the finer work that you do later. But for your early pencils, you want to have it fairly loose so you can go quickly, and it's substantial right off the bat. Yeah, it's something that I prefer, but it's not what everybody prefers. It's something, personal preference is always important here. So that's in the sketch tools alone. Look at all these other ones here. Inking. You have gel pen, and you can increase your thickness there, and you notice you can do thick line or thin line. This gel pen basically starts with a thick start and then thin line. It's not always something I prefer, but I'm just going to put it right as high as it'll go for the thickness and see how it works. And it actually works opposite to what I like. But, it's good to test it out and play with it a bit. Dry ink, you might want to explore this one as well. The dry ink, it gives you a nice effect, actually. You can use the line thickness and have a lot of fun with that. Gives it kind of a loose look as well if you're doing cartoon that you want to have a certain stylistic look to it. You see here it's fairly thick. You can adjust the thicknesses of the line. And it's good to just do a couple of whip off a couple sketches and see what you like, if you like it or don't like it. Just kind of give it a little try here. There you go. It's this one would be a lot of fun for me if I was doing it in that particular style. I do have a particular way of drawing, and it would be with the studio tool, which I discovered here. And this is more the tool I would use for it, and I can maybe turn my camera to show me adjusting that one. Let's move that a little closer here. So yeah, I can just increase that tool width a bit. I'm going to increase the opacity here a fair bit. And we are going to test out this Studio 10. And you see how nice and clean that line is. And when you do the top lines, you can actually make it thinner on the top and thicker on the bottom. It gives you kind of a light sense there, or light source. And I just like the way you get this nice, solid, thick, full, flush, clean line. And so this is the tool I'm finding I use quite a bit in ProCreate. But by all means, explore the ones that that work for you. And I'll just delete that one here. And you can get spray paint effects too, or they're a lot of fun here, especially for the lighter, more maybe the more pastel type colors. So you can get nice background type of things going here. So you can do this for a background, and it gives it a nice effect here. I've done a couple of books actually that I've illustrated, and I've done it with this effect here, and you fairly quick coverage, and it looks pretty neat too. So that's something I would do for backgrounds, or with pastel colors. They're not too powerful. They don't overpower your piece. Let's see. A couple of the other ones I would comment on. Water. The mud splashes. This is kind of neat too. And this might be something you could use for backgrounds or something too. Gives you a nice background effect and kind of a texture effect here. And mix another color in there. Gives it a nice feel. So that's something you can explore too. That would be something that I would do for like a design of a book cover or something like that. That would be really fun to do that. Let's see. Let's try one of the other tools, and maybe I'll just draw something here. Wet sponge here in a certain color, and you can use the this tool here, which is the finger pointing down on this, just second from the right, and it'll give you kind of it's like a smudge tool, so you can get neat effects with that. So it's as far as it'll go. So you can get a smudge effect here. So I'm going to take it from outside here and kind of smudge it across, and it gives it an interesting texture again. Or you can get the tool beside it, which is your eraser tool, and it'll erase things there like that. Or you can use the maybe the same tool, that's wet sponge. and it'll create like an interesting effect that way as well as you go across it with the eraser tool. Or if you don't want it across that layer, you can just create a new layer over top of it, and you can create a different, a different color altogether, and it will, if you're not sure you wanted to have it exactly on that layer, create a new layer on top of it, and then you can change it later. It's so adaptable and useful. Okay, so let's take those down. And so there's a sense of your library. Of course, there's your layers, is the one with the two squares, top and bottom. And the one beside it here is your color palettes. And you have some options here, your disc color. So you can pick a color on a color wheel like this. And it'll, as you do it, it'll be able to preview it here in the top right side, which is pretty neat. And then you have the color, basically a color background there, and you can adjust the color there by the slider at the very top. It'll adjust your hue, and you can adjust the darkness or the lightness as you like here with your little window here, and you'll see here it's previewed in the top left there. So if I want, say, a teal blue or a teal green, something like that, you can do, and you can make it lighter or darker, whatever you feel. So that's that one. That's your classic one. Harmony, it's you have two different wheels here. So one is doing the color you're selecting, and one is doing the opposite, like the complementary color, basically, which is kind of neat. So whichever one you pick, it's picking one, and it's also picking the complementary one too. So you click on either of those wheels, it'll select one or the other. That's a interesting one, your harmony tool. And then your value tool. So we were exploring RGB and CMYK, and then there's HSB as well, which you can use to select your colors. And you'll see the sliders as I select the HSB, your RGB sliders are moving well as well, and your CMYK are moving as well. So they're selecting the same color and giving you I prefer the CMYK, as I say, because that's what I'm familiar with. And then your palettes. So I've got some preset palettes. I have a couple of things that I've been working on recently, and I've created palettes for them that I regularly check on. So that's good too, to have them, and then you can have other ones too, which are part of the ProCreate software system too. So that are preset for you, and good to be able to collect the colors in your own palettes too, if you can. But if not, these are great palettes to choose from as well. And that's the color palette. So let's get started at doing some drawing here. And this is what we do in the blank page, is we find the color we want to sketch with. I like kind of a light blue. And as I was saying, I just like to have a nice drawing tool, just a nice toothy drawing tool. So I'm going to select the Freycinet, and I'm going to increase the brush size quite a bit, increase the opacity on the left side, and we're just going to do some circles. Okay, that's a little too thick, so I'm going to take that down a fair bit. And I like to, you may notice as I'm doing this, I keep my small finger touching the screen. That's because from many years of cartooning, I like to have something touching the paper as I'm drawing, because it just gives me a bit of a guide for it to give me the feel for what the base is. And then you'll notice the line's a little thick. It's so that I can get a nice, quick, loose line. That's just what I prefer, and I've always tried to strive for something that helps me to draw quickly and loosely, and get the feel of the type of drawing I want to do quickly. And the drawings aren't always quick, but certainly I can get the roughs fairly quickly and get the feel for it. So that's what I prefer. Now you can get tired of doing that. So I actually do several shapes, and I do the pear shapes as well, and some ovals. And as I'm doing this, I'm just kind of playing with the pen and the pencil and trying to get a feel for what I might do later. And actually at this point, I'm not really accomplishing a whole lot, but I am kind of trying to develop something. And a lot of times ideas will come from just doing this, just basically messing around with this, fun stuff. And basically it's just like a sketch. I'm doing like sketchbook work where I'm coming up with little vignettes, little ideas, little drawings here. Yeah, sometimes I'll come up with an idea. Sometimes it will be an hour or two before I'll come up with something. But it's loosening my hand up, and then actually, as my hand's working, my mind is kind of relaxing too and loosening up. I find it's very good exercise for the mind as well, and to get ideas, to be in a position to get fertile ideas from what you're drawing. See, that's nothing. That does nothing for me, so that goes away. I just hit clear, and that makes the layer disappear. But once I finally come up with something that I want to draw, it becomes a little more, I kind of get down to business, and I get a little more serious, and then you'll see that you take a little more time to put the stuff together, and things really start to take a little more form. So, and again, this is just a loose drawing that if I like that, I might just save that and then come back to it later and then finish it off. Or I might decide right now, I think I'd like to do a final drawing of that. So I would go into inking with the studio pen. Now this is just it's just a preference of mine. I will give this a perfectly black line. I will take the percentages and give it in the Cmyk slider. I will give it 100% K, which is black, 0 yellow, 0 magenta, 0 cyan. And we can take our forefinger and our thumb and we can zoom in on the area we want to draw in and adjust our brush tool to the opacity and brush size we want. And again, I use the studio pen because I like the line quality of it. It gives me a nice, I can adjust the thickness of it. I can adjust I can be light on top and thicker as I go lower. You can see how I get that change of thickness. And then when I'm doing things like filling in lines, it fills it in nice and black and nice and fully filled in. This is something when I worked in my cartooning class that I took back in the 1970s, we strove to get that nice full black that didn't have any opacity issues. It was fully opaque, perfectly opaque there. So you see that the blacks are fully black, and that is so great to be able to do this. I remember sometimes I would buy India ink and it wouldn't be quite opaque. It would be, in fact, it would be very muddy almost soapy, I would call it. It just wouldn't have the opacity that I wanted. So that would be often I'd go over the same line again and again just to make sure I had that look to it, because in the day, you had to have a good solid line to be reproduced, especially for comic strips, which ended up being the thing I really wanted to do. You had to have a good, thick, strong black line to be reproduced mechanically for publication. And it's still true, but boy, you can achieve it much easier with the tools that we have now, especially with the tools in the ProCreate software. And there you go. So nice solid black line, and you have a character there in nice solid black line. And at one time, that's what you needed. And I guess you still do it away. And I can just trim off clean up some of the stuff here too. Clean up the edges there if you like. You can take whatever time you want to do that. But the good thing that I really like about the software is that you can create a new layer. And we'll hit an X here. We'll create a layer here. We're going to take layer 3 and, oh boy, I didn't want to lock it here. Let's try that again. Unlock that. Hit that N button. It will take it below here. So the layer 2 is actually the black line that we have here. Layer 3 will be a line of color. So we can take, create a color level here, a color layer, and using the same tool if we wish. Well, let's not. Let's try an airbrushing tool. Let's try it. We'll decrease the opacity here. Decrease maybe keep the brush size there the way we had it, and give it a little coloring there. And we'll color his shirt in at this level and see how it looks. That's not too bad. It's kind of, and you can, as you keep working the line, you can kind of give an effect with the light direction too. You can give it look at that. Looks not bad. So the things you can do with the light direction. Let's just take that a little further. What we can do. Increase that a bit there. Give it kind of a watercolor effect, if you will. If you want, you can take your smudge tool and smudge it, give it a nice effect too. That makes it fun too. Take your smudge tool and adjust it. Or you may not like that at all. You might want to do a totally different layer. Let's try this one. You might want to do a nice clean. Let's use our studio pen again. And you might want to try a nice clean solid line to fill it in, just a even tone. It's nice and square. The edges are sharp. A lot to be said for doing something like this as well. Keeping the edge sharp, and maybe if you want to, leave a little texture in there too. And let's just take this tool. We can give it the inking tool as well. Take down the, and we can just do a little bit of cross hatching here. Gives it a nice light effect as well. You can see the effect this gets too. It's like almost like a what was that term? A woodcut of some kind. And you know, with this type of character, he looks like a very vintage 1920s type of guy from the 20s. has that look to him that would fit pretty good, actually, with a character like that. Woodcut, which was very popular during the 20s and before that, even in comics. A lot of newspaper drawings were done like woodcuts. In fact, that's where woodcuts were what they were made for, basically to give depth and tone to newspaper and printing, publishing images. Let's just do this here. And we'll use the same effect. We'll just kind of do a crosshatch here of this figure's face here. And there you go. It gives it a totally unique look too. So there you go. It's just what you feel. It's and you can experiment to no end with the tools to get that effect. And that's yeah, you can go further and color the hands and stuff too. I might even just do that. I might just go ahead and do that, and fairly quickly too. Like you can get these effects really quickly. And we'll just take our woodcut look there. So a couple different attacks of the same idea. And if you don't like that, we can open those windows up. Or if you think you might want to use it later in something, you can create a new layer here, and you might want to make a background for that guy. Let's maybe do that. Let's try one of those. Let's try a charcoal tool here. We'll choose a very let's try a I find this harmony tool. You can find kind of the basis of a color you want. Let's try like an orange here, and we will do like a charcoal tool here. So we'll give it a little interesting background here, just kind of and we'll call up our guy again here. Kind of give it a neat, a neat effect there too. And if you wanted to give him a little more, let's see, a little more solidity, what I could do is create a new layer that's completely white. And I think I would go back to my inking tool and my studio pen, and then I could just basically color this whole character here. Or even if I just did this, it gives it a neat effect if you have just the outside or the outline, kind of a light effect here. Or the other thing you could do is just fill that all in with white and give that whole, help it lift it right off that whole background, or keep it separate from that. And that looks pretty neat too. So what I'm basically doing is coloring in that outline of the character and giving the whole effect. You see the effect we got there. There's so many things you can do with this software, and especially with the layers, and quickly too. Like it's it doesn't have to look spectacular on each layer. It can, in fact, let's look at the layers and look at how they look and how together they look great. But if we look at it layer by layer, we're going to get some surprises here. So there's layer one. And then we have this one here. By itself, it doesn't look great, but it does the job. Have it together. There's that layer and that layer. So together, you get quite an effect. That's very kind of avant-garde and very stylish looking too, which I'm quite pleased with that. And I think you would be too. It didn't take that long to do, and it looks great. So let's just have a look at what else we did here on this one. We had we started with the sketch here, very rough sketch. It's amazing to look at it, what we started to what we ended up with. That's sometimes fun to do too, just kind of look back and see, well, this is where I started, and this is what it turned out to be. So so I think that is a pretty good explanation of the tools, and of course, check on your Apple Pencil too, and make sure it's charged regularly, which I'm learning that I have to do quite a bit, and it is very important to keep your tools working right, and make sure your iPad, of course, is charged regularly too. And if you can, make sure you have enough disk space to keep your drawings in. And I've got so many drawings in mine now. I've got illustrations for several gifts that I've given to family members and that sort of thing. It's not just a work tool; it's something that I do for personal reasons as well. So because it's a very nice thing to have. So I would say it's a great. I hope that's a great start for you. Uh, Take your toolbox, explore, and have fun, and make things, and enjoy. And I think I'll just turn it over to Tom, if Tom's there.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, fantastic. Really great session. I think some of the questions, this is kind of ongoing. We've had some of these questions with people attending workshops with the data, like where can you put the stuff. So one thing we've been recommending is that you could, if you're on your iPad, you have your iCloud. So you can technically, you could send stuff to yourself that way, or save it there. So there's that. But I think that really raises a good something that we'll address in some upcoming workshops too. I've been seeing some stuff too where you can do just like what Jeff was talking about, the Apple Pencil and the charge port. You can get little like on the Apple Store even directly. You can get little hard drives, like flash drives, that you can plug into the bottom, and then you can store stuff onto a hard drive as well. So some things I'm actually going to look into that a little bit, and then we can kind of pass that information on to everyone and say, hey, this works really well, or maybe it doesn't work. So just something to explore. I've seen that option out there, and how good that is, and so on. But it does bring up a good question too, and we're looking at that now too. Is like, if you're getting a device, if you're going to do a lot of digital work on it, you might want to look at the different sizes. So the basic iPad now, the brand new ones that are coming out come 64 gigs of storage size, so that's pretty good. The old ones that we're still using for workshops right now, they're 32 gig, which is great. Like, that's good. But once you put a bunch of software on it, it fills it up really quick. So that's why they went to the 64 gig. And I think Jeff, I don't know what size are you, Jeff? Do you recall on your iPad Pro?
I'm not sure what it is, but I think it. Did you say 64? I think that might be it. I'm not sure, 100% sure, but I've got a lot of drawings on here. Like, I've got hundreds, literally hundreds of drawings on this. So I think it must be probably pretty high. I know we went as high as we could when we were trying to buy, because we know I would be doing a lot of stuff with it. So I would say probably as high as you can go. But even still, like they told me, you probably won't ever fill it, but I'm pretty sure it's getting up there. So, but yeah, that's good advice. Yeah, the hard drives, that's probably a good thing to do. Adjust to that way.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that can be a good resource. And then like the iCloud is really cool too, because what's really neat about the iCloud is that if you put it on the iCloud, you can then access it with your phone. So technically, going back to the software, you can actually use it on an iPhone. So you can get the iPhone version. So if you had a drawing and then you're like, oh, I have just my phone, you went away somewhere, you can then access the same files that way, right? So the iCloud's pretty cool. So you can just, you do the export, you can then just save it to put a folder and put it in your iCloud. It would show up as an option like that. Otherwise, people like, we talked about it before, but emailing it, you can just email it out to yourself or to someone else and then have the file, right? Yeah. So that's I think really, some of the just some advice, some takeaways, because as we, getting started, as Jeff said, you're going to start to fill things up a lot, right? So it's really good. Um, but yeah, so let's again, I think I'll wrap it up here, and then what I just want to encourage everyone, if you're watching us right now, we're going to be posting some of the past workshops, I guess our August ones. We'll be getting those up on our YouTube channel as well, in case you've missed Jeff's masterclass sessions. So they've been multi-week sessions. We're going to continue with some in-person ones for our youth. So we're doing like 8 to 13. So that's coming up. And then we're going to get some more online sessions happening again with Jeff. So some other topics coming up. So do check us out. Keep on top of our website, and you can then see what's going on. But yeah, I just want to thank all our partners in this project. So we have the Canada Council for the Arts. Then we have all our library partners on this as well. So the Blue Mountains Public Library, Collingwood Public Library, and the Wasaga Beach Public Library. Be sure to check out the technology. There's iPads available at these libraries, and we've ProCreate with Apple Pencils are available at the Blue Mountains Public Library and Collingwood Public Library. So check that out too. Thanks for joining us again. Thank you, Jeff. Fantastic session, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care.